Welcome back to the channel. Again, if you enjoy the content that we provide, please hit the subscribe button down below to keep up with all the content, not just from here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we prepare for the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500, but as well the Route 66 Nationals for the NHRA Mission Foods Drag Racing Series next weekend in Chicago. We will be doing the double once again like we did last year, and it would not be possible without our friends at Peak Performance. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Well, the Sonsio Grand Prix is now in the books. We said it last night, it was going to be difficult to top the prospect of a Alex Palou win, and they tried to, but the outcome was inevitable in the end. Turns out that Alex Palou's stiffest competition all day would be the number 15 car of Graham Rahal, who managed to take the lead off of the start into turn one, and he held it there for a long time through two pit cycles until the end of, or he ended up leading 49 laps on the day. But after a botched pit stop and after a excellent run where it almost seemed like they told Alex Palou to turn on the jets, he ended up making a pass going into turn 7 and he set sail, never looking back.
Yeah, as we started, exactly what you would expect. Alex Palou, you know, right now in IndyCar racing, there's three things certain in life: death, taxes, and Alex Palou. And once again, we saw that today. Graham Rahal, though, an amazing drive for him for the first half of the race, especially. He dominated this thing. He had Palou cornered, it felt like, but of course the tire strategy swung back to the 10. That yellow flag really didn't seem to throw a wrench into the plans of Palou. It was basically destined to happen. We weren't saying if, it was a matter of when Palou was going to take the lead today.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that was a kind of a big storyline leading into this, was the implementation of it being basically a mandatory 3-stop race where you had to run 2 stints on the reds, 2 stints on the blacks. And honestly, if you were Graham Rahal, you were kind of cursing that third stop, because that's kind of where it went all awry for that number 15 squad after what was a very dominant first half of the race for them. You know, it played really into the hands of the number 10 team. You know, they call themselves the perfect 10s now instead of the thirsty 3s like Scott McLaughlin. And again, that 3-stopper really did play into the hands of Alex Palou, who now collects his 4th win on the season and his 5th top 2 finish out of 5 races.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is our first race with this new tire allotment, this new tire rule, and he started out on used reds, sandwiched black tires in the middle, the primaries in the middle, and finished the race on new reds, and that seemed to be the right call, as Graham Rahal was able to hold him off because of those used reds in the beginning. And unfortunately, Rahal just didn't have the tires in the end, it seemed like. But I liked what we saw. I liked these new tire rules. It definitely seemed to shake things up, make things a little bit more interesting. I left this race saying it was interesting, which is a lot more to say than the last couple of Indy GPs we've had.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, granted, the result was the same as last year and the year before that. Chip Ganassi ends up going 4 in a row on the IMS road course, dating back to when we had the midsummer race that coincided with NASCAR on the road course.
Which I would like to interject that Graham Rahal finished 2nd that day as well.
Yeah, to Scott Dixon.
Yep, 2023.
So as things kind of played out, Pato O'Ward, who ended up starting in 8th, clawed his way up to 2nd, and he didn't really have a chance to kind of take a jab at Alex Palou when the green flag flew after our first caution since lap 1 of St. Petersburg, of all things. We haven't had a caution flag since the beginning of March in the IndyCar series. You know, he didn't really have anything for Palou, and we knew that he only had one real shot, and that was going into turn 1 after the restart, and it just didn't come to fruition.
Yeah, great effort, of course, by the Aero McLaren team to get Pato up into the top 3. It didn't look like he was having the best day at the start, so they really managed to put together a good day. And coming to that restart, yeah, we all kind of knew we had one shot to get by Palou, and it just didn't happen. And yeah.
And then Will Power, actually he was just up there in the media center doing his post-race interviews and stuff. He threw out an interesting statistic that he has not passed one car on track for position in the last 2 races.
Yeah, all his passes have came through strategy and other things, people falling to the wayside, which is, a very interesting statistic and note with just the current situation that we're in IndyCar, I think.
Yeah, so let's hear from our sponsors over at Peak Performance, and then let's dive into the results from today's Sonsio IndyCar Grand Prix.
Protect your vehicle with Peak Original Equipment Technology. Our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle.
For the 4th time this season, Alex Palou tops the leaderboard at the end of the day with a Pato Award McLaren's driver in second. Mr. hasn't passed anybody all season. Will Power rounds out the podium, bringing home Team Penske their best position, with teammate Scott McLaughlin carrying the title sponsor in 4th. Scott Dixon gets 5th. Graham Rahal brings it home in 6th after leading 48 laps. And Marcus Armstrong comes home in 7th, with the Meyer-Shank team giving them a really strong result. Kyle Kirkwood finishes in 8th, the best of the Andretti Global fleet, with his 2 teammates retiring. Rinus VeeKay rides the good wave that he found in Barber, finishing in 9th, with Felix Rosenquist rounding out your top 10. Rookie Louis Foster brings home his number 45 MyJack Honda in 11th, with Joseph Newgarden bringing home his car in 12th after starting in the rear due to an issue coming to the green. Nolan Siegel, the rookie, finds 13th, with Alexander Rossi in 14th for the ECR team. Connor Daly, local favorite, brings home his Juncos Hollinger number 76 Chevrolet in 15th, with Christian Lundgaard finishing in 16th. Devlin DeFrancesco falls flat on a strong weekend, finishing in 17th, with Robert Schwartzman bringing home his number 83 Prema Chevrolet in 18th. Christian Rasmussen puts the number 21 Splenda Chevrolet in a 19th position, with Santino Ferrucci rounding out the top 20. Stingray Robb brings home the Puppy Mobile in 21st, with Callum Ilott, the last of the running cars, finishing in 22nd. David Malukas brought home his car in 23rd, being the source of the caution, the only caution since lap 1 in St. Petersburg. Jacob Abel finishes in 24th in the Mecum Auctions number 51, with Colton Herta, Marcus Ericsson rounding out the starters of the field, with Kiffin Simpson finishing in 27th with a DNS today.
Alex, looking at your career, it's just phenomenal what you've done. Out of the 5 seasons you've been here, you've only lost a championship twice. You talk about the historic facts of this season. Out of the first 4 races, you've only lost it once. You know, when you look at all the success, these winnings become normal to you. How do you absorb these wins, but also don't get lost in the moment and appreciate it, knowing that, like you said, someday this is going to stop and these wins aren't going to be as easy anymore?
Yeah, so I enjoy, and I would say the past 2 years have been more like that. Maybe the past 2 years. I enjoy it a lot more than I used to. I think 2022 was a hard year that we didn't win until the last race of the season. I struggled a little bit also off track, and that made me realize how amazing it is to have cool moments. Then being a dad also made everything so much better. So I've been able to enjoy, and I force myself to enjoy every single win. I take it as if it's my first and my last one. You can see with the celebrations and also with the team and how we enjoy them. And by no means I think that this is just a win. For me, it's really special to be here.
Well, unlike last year, this race definitely gave us a lot of good talking points. You know, there's some guys that you have to feel for, including the entire Andretti Global group over there, only getting 1 car to the finish after issues with Marcus and Colton. Kiffin Simpson, as you mentioned, not even starting the race, having a gear selection issue on pit lane once they started the car, could not get it out of neutral. And he was poised for a really good race because he has been very strong this season in that number 8 Chip Ganassi Racing Journey Honda. And after the qualifying yesterday, it looked like it was going to be a very strong top 5, maybe, but definite top 10 day, and it wasn't even to be.
Yeah, this road course for some reason has a tendency to bring out weird drivers if you look at it that way, with like Sebastian Saavedra in the inaugural year. I'm sure I could think of others, but Kiffin Simpson, Jack Harvey, but Kiffin Simpson, not somebody you usually think of when you think of the top of the leaderboard. Has to be gutting for that group. I hope that they at least feel accomplished and see what they did. They got them into the Fast Six. They had everything that they needed, and it just went wrong at the wrong time. Absolutely gutted for that 8 group.
Yeah, and I will say this to kind of close off, there's been a lot said about IndyCar in 2025. There's been a lot said about the domination of Alex Palou, how it doesn't make for good TV. But you have to actually be at the track in person to be able to enjoy the greatness that we are seeing from Alex Palou right now. The only thing that in modern times, we've heard a lot of comparisons going back to the 60s and 70s in terms of domination in the IndyCar series and its various forms through the years. But you really have to look at like Sebastian Bourdais in the late Champ Car era, because that kind of merges into the current timeline, and Scott Dixon in 2020. I think that one gets glossed over because Scott won 3 of the first 4 races, and the one that he didn't win was his teammate. So, I'd say, you really have to respect what Alex Palou is doing right now in the series and how he continues to show his true talent. I mean, he's already a 3-time champion. He's somebody that's going to go down in the record books alongside Scott Dixon, Will Power, some of the modern greats.
Absolutely. And that's like I said in yesterday's video, you think of Max Verstappen, you think of Jimmy Johnson, you think of Michael Schumacher, Dario Franchitti, Scott Dixon. I could sit here and keep going. Sam Hornish Jr. I could sit here all day and name different eras of motorsport where domination has happened. But there seems to be something different about this, where you think Palou is stumbling, you think he's fallen behind, and then you look and he managed to close that second gap and he's passing Graham Rahal.
Yeah, and I guess kind of final note, we're looking ahead now. Instead of going that way, starting on Tuesday, we'll be going that way.
That way, the right way.
And let me say this. There was a lot of similarities between last year's Grand Prix and a lot of differences in the good way. Similarities, Joseph Newgarden ran into some major issues at the beginning and ended up falling back. Alex Palou won. If you're Joseph Newgarden, you're walking out this day, yes, you didn't get the greatest result, but you're also very eager about the fact that, the last 2 Mays that we've been here, there have been 2 winners. On the road course, it was Palou. On the oval, it was Newgarden. That has to be a good feel for him. But there is a new factor in all of this. And after talking to some teams, that factor is probably going to be the main talking point over the next 2 weeks, the hybrid system on the Indy 500 oval.
Yeah, be ready to hear us talk about the hybrids a lot. There's a lot of unknowns, a lot of unpredictability. This is really the first super speedway, or this is the first super speedway race, and a long one at that, a long hot race. So,
there's just something about the Indy 500 that breaks cars. So
that's true.
It's going to be definitely a very fascinating month of May. There's very few times where you can really sit there and point at a month of May and say, we don't know who the winner is going to be, because it's going to be unpredictable. And that hybrid element is going to be that thing that makes this very unpredictable.
Yes. Is there a target on Joseph Newgarden's back? Absolutely. Yes. But is it as big as it would have been without a hybrid? No. There's definitely an unknown, but I still think everyone is going to be watching that 2-car going into Tuesday.
Yep, absolutely. So with that, we're going to wrap up our coverage here on the road course days. We're going to start focusing on the oval. It's going to be a very long week next week, but we have you covered on all the action. Once again, not just here, but also for the NHRA Mission Foods drag racing series as they hit nearby Chicago. Yeah. You'll be on that one. I'll be here.
Will.
And of course, once again, thanks to our friends over at Peak Performance for making all this possible. If you need coolant, you need antifreeze, you need anything for your car, Peak's got your back.
Yeah. And it's pretty good stuff too.
So, from the IMS Road Course, we hope you have had a great time watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button down below, and we will see you on Tuesday.